Hey guys, so we have a Toyota Wish here with the 1ZZ-FE motor. The check engine light is on. This particular motor, you'll find it in a lot of different Toyota models from about 2001 up to about 2007, 2008. The check engine light is on. It's been on for about a week now since a rebuild was done on the motor. Basically, the vehicle runs perfectly. It's got full power and everything like that, but the check engine light comes on roughly about 10 to 15 minutes after driving. When you switch the vehicle off, the check engine light will go off, but then after about 10 to 15 minutes of driving, it'll come back on. Now we have a fault code P0012, which states it is over retard of camshaft position A timing bank 1. So this is basically quite a common fault code that comes up. The engine had a rebuild, which it had piston rings, rod bearings, new valve stem seals, new cylinder head gasket, new timing chain kit with a guides, tensioner, and obviously new chain, new oil and filter. Now I just want to show you guys my process of going around to getting this fixed. I've already tried a few things which haven't worked, which is quite common things that people say you must try when you've got this fault code, which is cleaning and testing the VVT solenoid or VVT gear actuator, which is the little solenoid on the side of the engine that's held in by 10mm. They say you can put power to it when it's out and test it. See that the actual piston or plunger inside there moves up and down. You can also test the ohms on it, so it should be between like 8 and 12 ohms when you're checking the resistance on it. So I've tried all of those things. All of that is fine. It's got a brand new oil filter and engine oil, so the actual strainer has been cleaned, so I don't think it's having any oil starvation issues. But now a lot of people don't mention the one thing that I'm going to do next to get it fixed, and I'll show you guys what that is. Now looking at the timing, if we look down at the crank, we can see at TDC the markers lining up, because obviously the code is related to timing. And if we look at the dots on the gear, I can try to get this to, you can see the dots are lining up on the cams. You see that dots on the intake cam and the exhaust cam. Okay, those are lining up, so the timing is actually fine. The marks that are made prior to doing the chain, they all lining up. On the exhaust side, those dots are lining up. I made these dots before taking off the timing chain. So the issue is most likely going to be with the timing gear that was not unlocked when I was reinstalling the gear onto the camshaft. So I'm just going to see by unlocking I'm going to take the intake cam out. I'm not going to take the timing cover off. I'm just going to take out the intake cam with the gear. I'm going to loosen the tensioner, lift up the chain, take this intake cam out, and then we will put that gear on in the unlock position. Then we'll torque it, and then we'll lock it. We'll make sure that the timing is right on the chain, put everything back, the rocker cover, and then drive it again and see if that improves it. We can also see the lobes are facing up. They're in the correct position that they should be. Alright guys, so I've got the gear off. Now I just want to show you the gear is completely locked. This should be moving. There should be some play in this gear, like a 30-degree play, but there's absolutely nothing. So the gear is locked when you remove it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the gear off. Just take out the bolt. So just slide the gear off. You'll see the pin over there. On the camshaft will line up with this groove right over here. That roundish groove. Now you'll see when this gear is locked, this groove over here will face in the middle of this screw, or that's the bolt over there, in the middle of the bolt, and this locking opening over here. There's a pin on the inside here from the internals of the gear that locks in there. You'll also see that basically if we turn the gear over, you'll see the line, the timing mark over there. It lines up with that. Sorry, it lines up with a groove over there near the gear teeth. And if we turn it over, you'll see that this dot over here and that arrow, this little arrow over there, they line up. Okay, so that lines up with that, lines up with a dot, and it corresponds, I'm just trying to show you, it corresponds with the lines on the actual gear. And if you flip it over, it corresponds with this. But as I say, in the lock position at 12 o'clock it faces this line over here. So I'm just going to show you guys how to unlock it. A lot of people use compressed air to unlock it, but I'm going to strip the gear open. It's a very easy gear to work with. Now I found the easiest way to open this is with a vise. So you put these bolts in a vise. I'll show you, and you just crack them open. These bolts here are 5-sided, very special bolts. A normal socket will not go on there. If you look here, 10mm socket will never go on there, and then an 11mm will go right over. Where's my 11mm? Sorry about the lawn mowing in the background, but an 11mm spanner, an 11mm socket will be too big. As I say, 10mm, this is a 10mm spanner. It sort of grips it, but it won't actually grip it. And a 10mm socket, it's just too small. So I'll just show you guys how to open the gear very easily without any special tools. And then once I've opened the gear, once I've taken these screws off, I'll show you how to actually unlock the gear without compressed air, and then line it all back up and then it'll be unlocked, and then you can reassemble it onto the camshaft. Okay guys, so the easiest way for you to open these bolts is just to come to a vise like this, put the gear, just clamp the bolt individually, just clamp one, and you'll see the bolt is clamped. I'm trying to get this in the picture. And so you just clamp the bolt, so you don't need to buy the special tool. Get a rag and just twist it. Just twist it, and you'll see this bolt is loose. You can tighten it the same way, so we'll just go to another one. Just nip it in the vise. Basically, I'll just show you without, they're pretty loose, just turn it. You see that bolt is loose. Now go around and do that on all the bolts. Now you can even tighten them like that. So just snip them up by hand. Flip the bolts up, we'll just do this one here. Just lightly clamp it in a vise. Just turn the gear. Okay, now that bolt is tight. You can do that after you reassemble the gear. So let's now go and strip it, and I'll show you how to unlock it and then line it back up. Alright guys, so all these bolts are loose now. As you can see that that arrow corresponds with that dot, corresponds with these marks up here. Okay, if we flip it around, as you see, that's corresponding with that. So in this position, I'll just show you like that. At that 12 o'clock position, the gear is locked. When we unlock it, this arrow over here will move to about there. So we just take out these bolts. Okay, final bolt. And once that's off, pretty difficult to do this, but okay, just take this plate off. Right now you'll see a spring in there. Okay, basically this little spring over here. Now that rides along these marks over here. This mark over here, so the gear, when it goes on, can only go in one way because this has to ride on those marks. Now just pull this pin out. Okay, so in order for you to unlock it, where the spring sat, okay, you take that spring, you take this little part over here, you just flick it up. You don't have to take it out if you don't want to, you can just leave it there. But you can see that it's locking the gear into that sort of opening at the bottom of the gear. That you can see at the bottom of the gear, it locks into there, that slot down there. So in order for you to unlock the gear, you just want to put a screwdriver in there and just twist it. Okay, now you'll see that when you put the pin back in, it'll be unlocked. So this can only move back and forth about 30 degrees, 25 degrees over there. So now you don't have to strip this thing. If you want to clean it out and blow the holes out, you can. But you simply put the pin back in. Now you'll see that the pin sits flush. But if we turn it, you see that the pin will drop down. And now the gear is locked. So you just want to flick that up. Just like that, and just twist the gear. It's basically moved it to the unlocked position, which is there. You'll also see down here on this side, that's where the VVT Max is at. There's a little dowel inside there. I don't know if you could see it, but it's at the bottom there. All you want to do is, okay, make sure that pin is down. Now it's going to be riding at it won't be riding in that area there, it'll be riding on the flat part of the VVT sort of part of the gear. Now you just want to put the pin back in. And you want to put your plate back on. And so as I say, it has to ride on there. So obviously that's going to go above the spring. So it's just going to go like this over there, so that this hole will line up with that hole. You can see, pretty simple. Sorry about these kids making noise in the background as always. So you just put it on like that. Okay, then you put your bolts back. Now, just show you what it looks like when it's unlocked. As you can see, when it's unlocked, you can see the arrow now has moved 30 degrees the other way, away from this dot. Okay, and if we turn it around, you can see now this slot for the pin on the cam has moved 30 degrees in the more advanced position. If we're looking at it from here, that's basically the arrow. The arrow is basically this slot. Now you can see it's moved. So if we put it back on the cam, I'm just going to clean the gear out first. But you'll see when I put it back on the cam, you'll see it'll be unlocked and there'll be play in the actual shaft, in the actual gear when it's being twisted on the shaft. So when you take this off, this housing, this slot over here, okay, this one over here, if we turn this gear over, you'll see it's for this pin over here. That pin is an alignment pin, okay, that goes into that slot. Right, you can see also the timing mark, okay, over there, and the timing mark over here. You can see the pin will just slot in there, and then the actual timing marks will line up on the gear, so we'll just pop it on there. So once it's popped on, that's how you align these two pieces. Do not take out these plastic pieces, because there's a risk of those falling out and getting damaged and going in the wrong place. So I wouldn't strip this part of it, just leave it in place and just clean it. Once you've cleaned it, blow out the holes on this, blow out all the holes on this part of the gear. There's holes in the middle here, you want to blow out all of these sort of holes. These holes over here you want to blow out and clean, and then reassemble it, pop it on, and then just put your plate on. Make sure that the pin and the spring obviously line up. As you can see, it's in the unlocked position. Now the pin will just go in there. It'll be flush with the housing. And you'll put your spring on, and then put your plate on. With this must be rubbing on the spring, so you can't actually get it wrong. It's pretty easy. Another thing I want to mention is you also want to clean out all these oil holes over here for the VVTi solenoid. It's obviously going to pump oil through these holes in the camshafts. You want to clean out all these holes. Right, get some brake clean and an air gun and clean out all these holes after you have cleaned out the actual gear itself, before you put the gear back on. Okay guys, so very easy to assemble this. As I said, if we look at this gear, it has this pin over here. It will go into this pin. Make sure all these sort of orange dampeners and stuff are in place and all flush. Okay, so you'll just put this pin, as you can see it'll align as well with this groove. This timing mark will actually, they're a little bit offset, but once the pin goes in, these two timing marks will line up, and the bolt hole will line up as well. You can see that just goes on like that. Yeah. As you can see, the gear is in the unlock position. So we'll just put this pin in there. That'll sit flush. Put your spring in there. And we just have to make sure that this part aligns with the spring. Okay, so you just want to basically make sure that's straight up. Make sure it goes flat all the way down. Go straight down. Just look at the bolt holes as you're dropping it down. Just like that. Just grab your bolts. Get them all the way down. Make sure you're holding on this so it doesn't pop up. It's a very easy gear to assemble. Not a lot of parts involved in it. Okay, now once you've done this, you want to take it to the vise and just tighten those bolts. As you can see now, the gear, this is facing about 10 o'clock. Okay, that's the unlock position. Also, if we look at the arrow, that's facing like 2 o'clock in comparison to the dot over there. Okay, so the gear is unlocked. Now in terms of the camshaft, you can also see that the dot always corresponds with the timing marks, but the internals, the actual VVT part of the gear, is at 2 o'clock. That little arrow in the unlock position. Also blow out the oil feed holes on the camshaft lobes. So all these holes here. There's one on each side. Blow all of these out. Okay, so when you're installing the gear, I've already tightened all the bolts on the cam gear. So you want to align you can see this pin, obviously this is very obvious stuff. You can see the pin. Okay, you want to align that with that pin over there. Okay, so it can be a little bit tight, but you just want to pop it in there. Okay, now when you're doing this, now you'll see that the gear has play in it, so I'll just turn it around. Okay, well, doesn't really matter, but if you move it out, there we go. If you move it too much, it'll lock. So you really don't want to move it that much. You want to actually put this bolt in. So you want to kind of lock it on the opposite side where it won't lock, because if I turn it clockwise, it's going to click and lock into place. So you want to put this bolt in. You want to put this cam gear in the vise and then torque it down. Okay, so I have clamped the camshaft in a vise using aluminium soft jaws right on that part of the camshaft. The lobes are not being clamped. Okay, so I'm just about to torque this bolt. As you can see, if you look at the arrow and the dot, you can see the gear is moving, so it's unlocked. But if you move it to the point where the arrow lines up with the dot, the gear will lock. So you don't want to do it, so you want to max it out right over there, totally anti-clockwise. And then you want to put your bolt in, and then you want to torque it down in the unlocked position. You really don't want to lock this gear up, otherwise you have to start the whole process again. Okay, so I'm going to torque this up to 40 foot-pounds or 54 Newton meters. It's quite a bit of torque. Just don't want it to turn on the vise. Okay, there we go, it's torqued down. As you can see, now what we can do is we can lock the camshaft. Okay, so now we can lock it up. It's safe to do so now because the bolt is torqued. Now you can see it's locked. Now we can go and install the camshaft back into the vehicle. Okay guys, so I'm reinstalling the camshaft. Now I forgot to show you guys how to actually remove it. Remove the camshaft with the gear without having to take the timing cover off. So you obviously want to make sure you're perfectly on TDC on the crank. And what you want to do is you want to have an adjustable spanner, or I think it's a 24 spanner on this nut. Okay, and then you want to loosen the exhaust cam sprocket and take it off. Okay, then you're not going to take off any cam caps on the exhaust sprocket. You just want to take off all the cam caps on the intake sprocket, including this cap. Then you'll have a lot of free play on the chain, and that will allow you to just basically pull out the intake cam. It's very easy like that. When you're installing the chain, make sure the crank is on TDC. Down there you can't see it, it's a bit dark, but make sure it's exactly on TDC, and then make sure that the camshaft itself, the chain, is fully extended, fully tight on the intake side, and all the slack must be on the exhaust side, otherwise your timing will be off. Also make sure when you've put the chain on, as you can see I've put the chain on, I haven't put the caps on yet, but make sure that the dot on the exhaust and the dot on the intake cam are lined up. I don't know if you guys can see that, so those are lined up perfectly. The cam one sits sort of in the center of the exhaust one. And once you've done that, you can put your caps on, okay, on your intake cam, and then put back your tensioner in. Rotate the engine counterclockwise to release the tensioner, and then rotate it clockwise, do a couple of turns and make sure everything's lined up again. I also made some paint marks on the chain, as you can see over here, and on the exhaust on both sides, just obviously because when you take the timing cover hasn't come off, so you can't take the chain off the crank, and you can't line up the factory painted marks, so you'll have to make your own marks on the chain. Just make sure it goes back on the same spots. Okay guys, so everything is back, all the cam caps are on. The chain, if you look at the dots, you can see that the dots are lined up. Okay, now when you know the chain is right, I haven't put the tensioner in, but there should be quite a bit of slack in the tensioner, so if you hear this, can you hear that? So you must have that slack in the guide. If you're not hearing any slack in the guide, you might have the timing slightly wrong, maybe a tooth off, or you just need to rotate the intake cam counterclockwise and the exhaust cam counterclockwise, just to move the chain over anti-clockwise, just to free up the slack in the chain. I'm just going to put the tensioner back in, give it a few rotations, on the crank and then see if these dots on the cams line up again, and making sure that the 0 mark on the crank lines up. And don't forget to put your exhaust cam bolt back in. Okay guys, so first test run since installing the camshaft back into place with the VVTi unlocked and done correctly as per the manual. It is 7:26 at the moment. Now usually the light would come on after about 10 to 15 minutes of driving. I have cleared the faults, and we're just going to take it for a test run, and I'll report back to you if it's fixed it or if it hasn't fixed it. So just give me 15 to 20 minutes and I'll come back to you. Feels good on the road so far, no hesitations or anything like that. So it's driving pretty much the same as how it was before. So just on the highway at the moment. Only a couple minutes have gone by. But it feels the same as how it felt, you know, before I took the gear off. No engine lights come on yet though. I'm not going to rev it too much. I'm not going to rev it too high. I'm just going to cruise, because it would come on even when you're just cruising at low speeds. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes now. No engine light on. It was just my scanner disconnecting. See, we're running at 13.8 volts. There's still no engine lights, so let's wait another. I'm just going to drive for another 10 minutes, but it feels a lot better, the vehicle. It had a bit of a rough idle before. Just didn't, it had power, it had full power, but it just didn't, I don't know, something felt a little bit off. But now it's idling better, and it just seems to be shifting through gears a bit better. But we will see. As you can see, engine lights didn't come back. So with this fault code, a lot of people say it's the VVT gear solenoid. Either that or the cam sensor. There's a bunch of different things people say to look at. They look at, you know, clogged oil filter, clogged strainer. Can be that, dirty oil. And most of the time they say it's a failing VVT solenoid. So in this case, it looks like it was the gear that was incorrectly installed onto the camshaft. It wasn't unlocked, so I installed it in the locked position and then I torqued the bolt, whereas I should have installed it on the unlocked position with the gear freely moving and then torqued the bolt. So I think that's pretty much it, but it's 12 minutes into driving, no engine lights come on. I have scanned the vehicle and cleared the fault earlier prior to the test drive, so I'll just get back to you guys in about 10 minutes, because it would definitely have come on between 10 and 20 minutes. Okay guys, so just been taking the car for a bit of a harder run, taking it up to about 4,500 RPM before. Now you can see it's been 20 minutes, still no engine light on, so I'm pretty certain that this has fixed the fault. So don't throw a VVTi solenoid at your problem. If you've done a chain, or if you're having issues with it. Maybe your chain is stretched, or maybe your VVTi gear is broken or incorrectly timed, because I mean the gears can fail as well and just lock up. So the engine light, I think, was on because the intake cam was locked in that retarded position, so it wasn't actually doing its job properly, and the computer was sensing that, obviously on the cam sensor. So yeah, just it's pretty easy to take the camshaft out, as I said. Take off the exhaust cam gear, and then the intake cam will come off easily because there'll be heaps of slack in the chain. Obviously take your caps off, so you can do all of this without, you know, even if you've messed up on the timing chain, you can do all of this without having to remove the front timing cover. So I really hope this video helped you guys, saved you a lot of hassle. I am a Toyota ProTech technician. I used to work for Toyota for about 11 or 12 years. So I've fixed quite a lot of issues on these vehicles. Let's look again at that bloody engine light. On, no, still off. Okay guys, if the engine light comes on, I will add it into the video. If it doesn't, then you know that it's been fixed. Problem sorted. I'm a very honest person, so I wouldn't just say it's fixed and it's not fixed. Okay, I'm going to do a final scan just to confirm everything, but obviously no lights have come on, so there'll be no faults in the system. As you can see, it's been about 24 minutes of driving. It definitely would have come on already. Anyway guys, if you liked the video and this helped you out, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more problem solving, because I work on Audis, I work on Fords, I work on Toyotas, pretty much everything. Or if you have a question about your car, I like solving issues with cars, complicated problems. Give me a shout. Catch you in the next one, guys.